Welcome to our ZazRack Caregiver Informational Series. Today's Caregiver Informational Series, we're going to talk about ABC data. ABC data is something you'll hear a lot from your in-home ABA or your BCBA or from your school staff. It's an assessment tool used in ABA. It helps gather information that can be used later and creates a behavioral support plan to help stop those behaviors from happening. I guess the first thing we should do is talk about what ABC stand for. A stands for antecedent, B, behavior, C, consequence. So the first part is the antecedent, which sounds like a big, scary word, but really it is just a simple, small idea. It is a thing, a place, an event, an activity that happens directly before something. In this case, it's preceding the behavior. In order to better understand ABC data, let's talk about an example while we talk about these words. So, our example would be, a loud and surprising fire alarm goes off. Next, we're going to talk about behavior. And here's where it gets interesting. There's two different types of behavior. There is a new behavior, which you may hear called a respondent, and there is a learned behavior, which is called an operant. Both of which are what you say or do, and the activity that's happening in the example we gave would be flopping to the ground, screaming, and kicking. Where the difference lies is why it's happening. So in a new behavior, it's triggered by the antecedent. The loud and surprising fire alarm made the person flop to the ground and scream and kick. In a learned behavior, although they're flopping to the ground and screaming and kicking, they're in search of the consequence, which we're going to talk about next. Last, we have consequence. The consequence is the action or response that follows the behavior. So if we're going to follow our example through, a loud and surprising fire alarm goes off. The child flops to the ground, screaming and kicking. The parent scoops up the child from the floor and removes them from the area. Once you have all your data, you can sit down and make a plan. This plan would presumably be made with either an in-home BCBA or your school BCBA or support staff in order to use their experience to best figure out what steps should happen. So, in this case, first, we use different techniques to figure out the most appropriate way to handle it if there's a loud, sudden noise in the future. Then, you would pair words and actions with those techniques so the child or person can learn to advocate or help themselves down the road. You'll be able to understand which ways work best and then really work on pairing how they can do it on their own with those preferred ways. And then finally, you have to put it into practice, starting with a controlled way if possible, so the child or person can be more prepared when it happens suddenly. So to follow our example through to the end, headphones turned out to be the best way to deal with the noise. They practice with other loud noises, a vacuum, a blender, a lawnmower, a snowblower, and now they can ask for headphones if needed. They've also learned that covering their ears will help muffle the sound. Although it's not preferred, it is better than flopping and screaming and kicking because at least it's eliminating some sound until the headphones are available. At the risk of sounding redundant, I believe this is my closing idea at our last Caregiver Informational Series, is that by using these ABA techniques like collecting ABC data, your child will learn these coping strategies that they will carry across their life. Having the proper support at your side to help you draft a plan and analyze the data will also give you more tools in order to do it down the road. you work together as a team in order to get the best outcome for your child to learn to advocate for themselves. On behalf of Sazerac Inc., we'd like to thank you for checking out this installment of our informational series. If you enjoyed it, we'd love you to like and share or leave us a comment. And please remember to add us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube.